welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all doing well out there. And today we're going to go back to the early 80s for a Cannon Films movie. But before we get into this, do me a favor, like, comment, and subscribe. Subscribe. I greatly would appreciate that. And also, as always, a shameless plug for my TeePublic store. I'll leave a link for that in the description box below. Now, the film today we're going to discuss is a film that I have reviewed before. I rewatched it again last night, and I've seen it getting some heat on YouTube. Other folks have been reviewing it or talking about this film, and I think it's a film worth going back and discussing yet again. I think it's severely underrated, and I think it does have a cult following, but we're going to talk about it again because I think it deserves to be talked about, and I hope more people check it out. I do believe it is streaming on Tubi, so if you get a chance and are interested in it, it's over there at Tubi for free, so check it out. But that movie is 10 to Midnight, starring Charles Bronson. This was actually Bronson's second collaboration with Golan and Globus, who owned Cannon Films. He had worked on Death Wish 2 with them, but that was more of an MGM picture, but Cannon was associated with that. But this was the first film that Bronson did actually with Cannon Films, all on their own. This was their movie. They financed it, they released it, and then he would go on to do 8 more films with Cannon after this. A lot I have reviewed in the past. I'll probably go back over the next couple months and years and go back over some of those films. Cannon Films have that flavor to them. Some of them are really, really good. Some are cheesy as hell, but they're always entertaining in their own way. And there's some gold to be mined from the Cannon Films vault. And I grew up on Cannon Films. But we're going to talk about this one because I think this one is one of the better films that Cannon ever made. This was directed by J. Lee Thompson. J. Lee Thompson doesn't get enough credit. He was a very notable director, directed some really big pictures like The Guns of the Navarone in 1961, the original Cape Fear in 62, Conquest for the Battle of the Planet of the Apes. Very prolific director. I think the reason why he doesn't get talked about enough is because later in his career he worked mostly with Cannon, but he was a very, very capable director, and he does a really great job here. And he worked with Bronson 9 times in his career. St. Ives, Messenger of Death, which we're going to talk about later. This film, he did Death Wish 4. He did a lot of films with Bronson, and this is just another one in their long history of working together. Now, in this movie, hold on, let's go on to the release date of this film. This movie came out March 11th of 1983. It's rated R. It's an hour and 41 minutes long. Had a budget of $4.5 million, and upon release, it made 7.1. But it did really well on home video. We'll get into that later. In this film, we got Charles Bronson as Leo Kessler. He is a highly decorated LA police detective. He's been around for a while, probably a little jaded at this point in his career. We'll talk about that. Lisa Elbacher plays Lori, his daughter. She's a nursing student, and she is most famous for, you'll recognize her from Beverly Hills Cop. She ran the art gallery in LA, or in Beverly Hills, that Axel goes to visit, and they were friends from childhood. Andrew Stevens plays Paul McCann, a younger detective. He just gets partnered up with Kessler right at the beginning of the film. Gene Davis plays Warren Stacy, our serial killer of this film. And I think we're going to definitely talk about him and his character because this review's probably going to go a little long, so buckle up. Jeffrey Lewis plays his lawyer, and Jeffrey Lewis is a very notable character. After we talked about him many, many times on the channel. Sadly, he's passed away, but he's been in a ton of films over the years. Wilford Brimley plays Captain Malone. Kelly Preston's in this film as well. She is one of Laurie's friends at nursing school, so you get to see her several times on screen. Now, 10 to Midnight, the reason why I think it's notable and to talk about it again, it's kind of a mixture of a cop thriller mixed with a slasher movie. This movie definitely has slasher elements, and I would even say it is a slasher film in a lot of ways, and a serial killer movie all wrapped into one. So it's definitely a genre-bending kind of film. Right at the beginning of the film, the killer has already been on the loose for a while. They've been trying to find this killer. And Kessler is on the case, and he's just got teamed up with Paul McCann. He's a younger detective. And we're introduced to Warren Stacy. He has I love his first kill that we get to see on screen. Only reason I love it is because they set him up to be a very capable human being, a very smart human being, and a very ruthless and sick son of a bitch. He goes to this movie theater to see Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Not only does he make a point to talk to the ticket seller, the manager of the theater, But he also sits down next to these two young ladies and hits on them. And then they asked him to move, please, and he gets up and he sits a couple rows behind them, but he is noticed in the theater. The movie starts, the lights go down, the movie starts, he gets up, goes to the bathroom, sneaks out the bathroom window, goes to this park where he knows this woman who he works with, who has basically turned him down when he has asked her out, and everybody at his workplace thinks he's a creep. Now, Warren has a specific way of killing his prey. He strips down completely naked. Absolutely naked. I remember the first time I saw this, I'm like, what is going on? And she's in the back of this van with her boyfriend, and they're making love, and he opens the door and stabs the boyfriend and kills him immediately, chases her through the woods and kills her, goes back to the theater, gets dressed, goes, sits down in his seat as the movie ends, and when he gets up, he makes a point to make sure he talks to those two young ladies once again on the way out. So when he does get questioned eventually, he has witnesses that can pinpoint him there before the film, right before the movie starts, and after the movie's over. I love how they put that much thought, and his character put that much thought in accomplishing this awful, horrific crime. But Kessler from the beginning is kind of on to Stacy. He knows, he's been around long enough. He knows this type of human being. He knows he's a sick son of a bitch that gets his rocks off by killing people. And he even says when they bring him in for questioning eventually that when he's talking to a psychiatrist and he goes, his knife's his penis. He's incapable of having any meaningful relationship with a woman. The only way he can get a release sexually is by killing a woman. That is his thing. That's the reason why he does what he does. And it totally makes sense. And they definitely set that up, and it definitely pays off in this movie. It's actually a more well thought out movie than most people probably would give it, knowing it's a canon film. I'm not saying this is Silence of the Lambs. I'm not saying that. I'm saying this movie did have they really did put some thinking behind this killer and his motivations. And Kessler being around and being the grizzled detective, he knows this kind of scumbag. Kessler's about to step over the line because he knows they don't have enough to pin it on this guy, but he knows this guy is not going to stop. And at this point, he has set his sights on Lori. She starts getting these obscene phone calls. They know it's Stacy, so he takes some of the blood samples of one of the victims. They had already confiscated some of his clothes, and he plants evidence. So, and there's a scene where Stacy is in with his lawyer, Jeffrey Lewis's character, and Kessler comes in and tells him, we just upped the charges to murder one. There's new evidence we found, DNA or blood evidence on his clothing, and Stacy goes nuts because he knows there's no effing way, legitimately, because we've seen him, he gets stark naked, so there's no DNA evidence left behind on his clothes or anything, that's impossible. And they go to trial, and Kessler and McCann actually have a conversation because McCann's going to get put on the stand by Stacy's lawyer. And I love how they set this up. McCann's like, you want me to perjure myself? And Kessler's like, I want you to do what's right. We know this guy is a sick bastard. We need to put him away. And Kessler does the right thing and tells the DA that he planted the evidence. So it's a very smart movie, and the hero doesn't get his way completely through it. And this is not Death Wish here. Bronson's not going out and just blasting people. And I like those movies, don't get me wrong, but this is not that. It's definitely more grounded in reality in terms of, he's a jaded cop. He knows the system does not work perfectly. He knows this guy is a sick bastard killing people and he's not going to stop. And he figures this is the only, by stepping over the line, it's the only way to stop him. Unfortunately, he gets fired. Stacy's out in the streets and he's setting his sights on his daughter once again. And basically the ending just goes crazy. Stacy shows up at Lori's apartment or dorm room where her and her friends live and kills 3 of her friends, chases her down the street butt-ass naked, and Kessler catches up with him, and Stacy just goes on this diatribe. You can't do nothing. I'm sick. I need help. I'm going to go to a hospital, but I'm going to get out, and I'm going to come back. Basically, he's telling Kessler, I'm going to come back. I am not as mentally ill as you think I am. I am going to come back, and I'm going to exact my revenge. And Kessler pretty much goes, you're not coming back, and he shoots him in the head, and that's how the movie ends. Now, I know it was a long-winded way to go through. I'm highlighting the things I really like about this movie. Now, I like the performances here. I think Charles Bronson's good here. I mean, he's playing an understated, grizzled cop. He could do this in his sleep, but he's so good at it. Lisa Elbacher's great as his daughter. Everybody's good here. And I think Gene Davis as Warren Stacy, I mean, he had to spend a lot of time in this movie and on set naked. Completely naked. And I think he sells it. He sells that he just gets his rocks off by killing these women. And you could see him even losing it. He goes to his victim's apartment, the one he killed in the van, and she is a roommate. And she overhears them talking that she had a diary at the funeral. He goes to the funeral, what serial killers have a tendency to do. They want to help the cops, or they're always around what's going on. And he overhears that this woman had a diary, and she always was very explicit in her diary about who she spent time with or who, whatever. So that's why he goes to her apartment, kills her roommate, he starts losing his shit because he wants this diary to hide the evidence. But Kessler already has it, and that's what kind of leads Kessler right to him. And he knows it's Stacy. And there's a great interrogation sequence between Kessler and Stacy where Kessler's just putting it all out there. He knows it's this guy. And, you know, I mean, he's a good-looking guy, but he's awkward around women, this Stacy. And Gene Davis really does sell it. Is the movie overly violent? At the time, I'm sure this was considered very hard at the time. But no, you see blood splashed around a lot, but you see blood on Stacy. He's covered in it at one point in the movie. But I wouldn't say this is not a gore fest. For the period, for 83, yeah, this was pretty hard. But nowadays, considering what we've seen with Terrifier and some of the other horror films as of late, no, it's not overly violent. There's a lot of nudity with Stacy, Gene Davis, and some of the women in the movie, for sure. And it does have that sleazy early 80s vibe, the way it's shot. It's beautifully shot, but it has that seedy LA tone to it with the neon and the darkly lit streets, and they do a really nice job setting this up. I think it's a pretty damn well written script, and I think it's very well directed by J. Lee Thompson. I think the acting's pretty damn good across the board, and it doesn't overstay its welcome at hour 41 minutes. And this is definitely a slasher film. This is a different kind of slasher film. Like, we get to spend a lot of time with Warren Stacy. We get to see all of his tics. We even get to realize why he's doing it, just for the sexual pleasure. This is the only way he can get off is by killing women. He can never have a meaningful relationship with a woman. This is the only way he can get his rocks off. And to get back at these women who have called him creepy and have shunned him and not given him the time of day. This is his way of getting back at the world. And, you know, at the end, I could see a lot of people having a problem with the way, you know, Kessler just shoots him in the head at the end. But I see it as Kessler knows this is the only way this guy can never kill anybody again. He knows if he goes off to the psych ward, he's going to get out in a couple years and he's going to pick right back up. And Stacy tells him this. So the only way to put an end to this is kill him. And we don't know what happens to Kessler after this. Does he go to prison for doing it? Because, Stacy, there's cops surrounding him. He can't go anywhere, and Kessler just blows him away. I love the ending. There was multiple endings for this film in the script. There was an ending where Kessler and Stacy roll around on the wrestle, and Kessler has to restrain him. Bronson didn't like that ending, and they ended up going with the ending they have. I think the ending that's on here is the right ending. I think he should blow him away and put an end to this nightmare. But I can see some people having a problem with that. Now, upon release, this did not get great reviews. As a matter of fact, Roger Ebert gave it 0 stars and said this was a little scummy sewer of a movie, which I don't know what movie he watched, but Ebert could be like that sometimes, especially in the 80s. Remember some of the things he did with the Friday the 13th movies? I mean, God, go back and watch some of those reviews. They're ridiculous. The hyperbole of what they were saying, him and Siskel and Ebert would say about some of these films back then. But I think this is a really good genre-bending movie between a police thriller, a slasher film, and serial killer movie, all wrapped into one. You could do a hell of a lot worse with this movie. This Blu-ray is available still from Shout Factory. The transfer is pretty good, and there's some cool special features on here. Now, Kino Lorber is coming out with a 4K. It's coming out soon, so keep your eyes open for that. I might end up picking that up, so we might end up doing another video on that for A Case for Physical Media. But I'm pretty happy with this Blu-ray. The transfer is definitely really good. Now, they took inspiration for this film, especially for Warren Stacy, from Richard Speck, who was a notable serial killer, and Ted Bundy. Matter of fact, talking about Ted Bundy, Warren Stacy drives a Volkswagen Beetle just like Ted Bundy did when he committed his crimes. The Cannon Group actually sold the broadcast rights for $2.5 million to HBO. This did really well on the home video market, the rental market. They made a lot of money off this movie once it hit cable and the video rental market, which was just coming into its own around this time. Alec Baldwin actually screen tested for the Warren Stacy character. Obviously, they went with Gene Davis. Charles Bronson and Gene Davis and J. Lee Thompson would re-team for another movie in '88, Messenger of Death. Although, like I said, Bronson and J. Lee Thompson worked many, many times over the years. And off of the success, well, this made a little bit of money theatrically, made more money once it hit the market. But based off of this movie, Charles Bronson signed a multi-picture deal with Cannon Films. He would end up doing 8 more films with them through his career before he passed away. At the end of the day, I really like this film. If you've never seen it, it is streaming on Tubi. I highly recommend it. Give it a watch. See if you like it. Let me know what you think about it down below. If you have seen it in the past, let me know down below what you think of this movie. I'm not trying to oversell it. I just think it's a really solid movie. And I probably like it more than most people. I would actually give this movie a 9.5 out of 10. I like it that much. 9.5 out of 10 for 10 till midnight. Let me know what your thoughts are in this film. Also, hit the thumbs up, hit the subscribe button, share this video. Again, I greatly would appreciate that. That is it for this one, but until next time, bye.